What if I told you that being highly intelligent does not protect you from propaganda? The uncomfortable reality is that sharp minds are not immune to propaganda or disinformation. In many cases, they are more vulnerable. The digital world is no longer a neutral tool. Algorithms are specifically engineered to exploit our psychology, learning our emotional triggers in real time to feed us a calibrated diet of fear, outrage, and confirmation. This has created a profound crisis of ignorance, where the constant consumption of curated snippets leads to a mere illusion of knowledge, while our actual capacity for deep, sustained thought fractures and atrophies. In an environment designed to bypass our scrutiny, intelligence offers no protection. Only a rigorous internal mental discipline can. Today, we are going to explore the mental discipline of critical thinking through the lens of the Stoics. Stoic principles for strengthening the mind focus on reclaiming mental sovereignty by distinguishing between internal choices and external events. This discipline is described as a warrior-like effort to ensure that you, the individual, rather than the outside world or unconscious impulses, directs your mind. We often believe our education or critical thinking skills protect us, but a landmark study conducted by Dan Kahan, professor of law at Yale, found something unsettling. Sharper reasoning skills can make you more polarized, not less. When presented with problems about neutral topics, smart people got the right answer. But when the same problems were framed around a divisive political issue, like gun control, the smartest participants were the most likely to get the answer wrong if the truth threatened their political identity. Their intelligence wasn't a shield against propaganda. Instead, it was used as a weapon to construct better rationalizations for what they already believed. This is the world the algorithm has built for you. It doesn't just show you what you like, it learns your emotional triggers to keep you in a state of voluntary enslavement to a narrative you didn't even choose. We are currently living through the greatest information crisis in human history. There was a time when influence required proximity. Governments needed speeches. Religions needed institutions. Families needed conversation. Today, influence arrives silently and anonymously through information and news recommendation systems built by strangers whose names you will never know and whose motives you will never see. In a world of information overload, brimming with endless distractions and instant gratifications, the Stoic way of life offers the essential tools needed to filter out the noise and reclaim your mental sovereignty. The average person now spends a significant portion of daily life inside these algorithmic bubbles. More time is devoted to scrolling through social media feeds, short-form videos, and selective outrage than to sustained conversation with other people. That shift matters because these systems are not passive mirrors. They are behavioral engines. Their purpose is not to help you think clearly. Their purpose is to keep you engaged. Engagement means more clicks. More clicks means more advertising revenue. And your attention is easiest captured and held through emotion. Fear keeps people watching. Anger keeps them reacting. Validation keeps them returning. The result is an information culture where intensity is mistaken for truth and repetition begins to feel like evidence. People immersed in these systems are convinced they are independently informed, but their reactions become increasingly predictable. The antidote to this crisis is critical thinking. Not critical thinking as the hollow buzzword repeated in TED Talks, classrooms, and corporate workshops, where the phrase itself has been polished into something harmless. But critical thinking as a rigorous daily discipline, the mental equivalent of physical training. The distinction matters. Being skeptical is not the same thing. Skepticism alone can become performance. Cynicism is not the same thing either. Assuming everything is corrupt does not make someone thoughtful. Critical thinking is narrower and more demanding than both. It is the discipline of interrupting your own emotional reactions long enough to examine them before they harden into firm beliefs. Explained simply, the process is almost painfully simple. When you encounter a claim, before accepting it, rejecting it, reposting it, or emotionally attaching yourself to it, you pause. You ask yourself, who wants me to believe this? And what do they gain by my believing this? What evidence exists to support this claim? You ask what context is missing. You ask whether the claim would still feel persuasive if it came from a person or group you normally distrust. You separate the emotional charge from the factual substance. Only then do you decide what deserves your agreement. However, in practice, the process is more difficult than it appears, because the difficulty is not intellectual, it is emotional. Most people do not struggle because information is unavailable. They struggle because questioning emotionally satisfying beliefs creates discomfort. The modern internet has been designed to eliminate precisely that discomfort. Every notification, trending topic, and recommendation communicates the same message. React immediately, choose a side quickly, feel certain now. Mental discipline begins by refusing to give in to that pressure. The Stoic philosophers understood this long before digital platforms existed. Their language was different, but the psychological problem was remarkably similar. They knew human beings were vulnerable to influence, emotional contagion, and social imitation. Their solution was not withdrawal from society, it was mastery over attention and judgment. Marcus Aurelius described the mind as a fortified structure whose entrance could not be breached without permission. The image remains useful because modern algorithms operate like expert negotiators at the gate. They do not force entry directly. They tempt, flatter, provoke, and exhaust. Eventually, the exhausted mind stops inspecting what enters. Discipline means restoring that inspection process. It means recognizing that an emotional impulse is not automatically a truthful one. Epictetus offered another useful comparison. He treated life like continuous athletic training. Every encounter tested character. Every irritation became practice. In today's digital world, each scroll functions the same way. Headlines provoke outrage. Videos trigger tribal loyalty. Public arguments reward impulsive certainty. Most people collapse into reaction almost instantly because reaction is easier than evaluation. The disciplined person pauses long enough to ask whether the impression deserves assent at all. Seneca approached the problem differently. He warned about crowds. He noticed how quickly individuals absorbed the emotions and convictions of whatever group surrounded them. Confidence became contagious. Volume replaced evidence. The internet has accelerated this human weakness. Trending opinion now moves at algorithmic speed. Millions of people adopt emotional conclusions before they have examined the underlying facts, because belonging feels safer than uncertainty. Now imagine tomorrow morning every social media platform removed public metrics entirely. No likes, no shares, no view counts, no trending pages. You can still post content, but you no longer know what is popular or socially acceptable. Would you still repost the same ideas if there were no applause attached to them? Would the outrage feel as satisfying without an audience cheering you on? The danger of algorithmic culture is not merely misinformation, it is the gradual erosion of intellectual independence. We begin outsourcing judgment without realizing we have done so. Our emotional responses become conditioned by systems optimized for engagement rather than accuracy. Eventually, we stop distinguishing between what we genuinely believe and what we were repeatedly nudged toward believing. A disciplined mind resists that process. Not by rejecting technology, not by disappearing from modern life, and not by treating every institution as a conspiracy. The goal is far less dramatic and far more difficult. It is maintaining ownership over your own mind in an environment built to control it. That requires habits most people avoid: patience, intellectual humility, tolerance for uncertainty, and the willingness to examine beliefs that feel emotionally threatening. None of these traits generate social media viral engagement, but all of them strengthen your mind and your judgment. In a world filled with endless distractions and instant gratifications, the Stoic way of life offers the essential tools needed to filter out the noise and reclaim your mental sovereignty. The person who questions only what threatens their own worldview while treating their own beliefs as self-evident is not practicing critical thinking. They are doing exactly what the algorithms want, neatly sorting themselves into a predictable demographic that can be profitably fed an endless, tailored stream of confirming content, which leads to a question most people avoid asking themselves honestly. If your strongest opinions were formed inside systems specifically engineered to influence your mind, how certain are you that the voice in your head is entirely your own?